big pond, the big ponds. The kids would go fishing after work, and Mr. Hogle would say, okay, they, from like Memorial Day to Labor Day, whoever catches the biggest fish, I'll give them $10. So everybody was fishing, you know.
Trying to get
All
the
hired hands and everything would come fishing. But, well, just the kids that worked there, but, you know, it was just, I think about it, and that's what it seems like to me, just a fantasy that we lived through. And if we hadn't lived it, we'd have never believed it could be a real thing. And the Hogels were just the nicest people that you'd ever want to meet. And Carol gave me this television.
Oh yeah. It was very nice.
She installed it and everything. She did. She come down here one day, her and a friend of hers, and she just put it together and got it working.
So you never answered who was your worst child?
What?
You kind of skirted around who was the worst child.
Who was your worst child?
See, I'm not hearing. I can't hear.
You say Jenny.
Who was the out of the four of them? One of them had to be the hardest one that you would have thrown into the pond if you wouldn't have gone to prison for it.
I really.
We know it starts with D.
Narrows it down quite a bit.
Linda, she.
It was an angel, I'm sure.
Yeah,
She-
no,
Directly, we don't know.
Yeah.
She rolled out big rolls of paper in the alleyway of the cow barn and would draw and paint the things that they'd put, murals that they'd put around the gymnasium when they'd have a dance. And she'd do them in the barn. Well, this one that she had, we had cats roaming around at night, you know. She got up in the morning and was going to roll up her mural and take it to school. And here was this cat paw mark right here. So she made a couple more cat paw marks and drew a cat sitting there on the,
Will just
You know,
incorporate.
Yeah, we're just gonna work with
and it
this.
just fit right in.
That's awesome.
But, and let's see, Dave, he was the one that rode it. All the horses and
He probably caused you the most like anxiety because he was always getting maimed.
I did
Yeah, he
break a
was.
ruler over his backside one time.
Probably deserved it.
But it was a very thin.
Probably deserved it.
No, it was a yardstick. And
Well, yeah, my dad told me a yardstick story one time. He broke a yardstick in front of you before you could get to him.
He was like, "Are we
Yeah.
following this out?"
yeah,
And
Debbie.
then you said, wait till your father gets home, and he knew then. He said, I was in trouble.
You bet. Debbie was always the one that was
Mischievous, I'm guessing.
laid up for some reason.
Oh.
You know, she was in her casts and everything from her back surgeries. But she always had something going, or coming, or just went. I don't know.
Or just went.
Still
But
stay
she-
home.
Yeah. That did not change.
But bless her heart, she missed. I can't remember whether it was part of the second grade and all of the third grade. I think that's, or maybe it was part of the first grade and all of the second grade. It's been a long time ago because of her back surgery.
Yeah.
But she'd have a home teacher come in 3 days a week, and she couldn't sit up. So I don't know who got this. She'd lay this thing across her stomach laying down, and it had a mirror in it. And it had a little desk on it that she could find right here and look right here. And she did her math. She didn't keep up in reading. No, she kept up in reading, writing, cursive writing. She kept up in everything but cursive writing. And so she didn't know how to do that when she went back to, so that she could go to school to the full year. She had to really work on that. And then there was Doug, and he was so far behind. Everybody spoiled him rotten, even the doctor,
Still does.
his wife, and the nurse across the way. But for me, I really never had a lot of trouble with the kids. Like I broke the ruler over Dave.
Probably deserved it.
I think I got a stick out of a tree or something for Doug.
Wasn't it that they had to go pick a stick? They had to go pick their.
They had to pick their own stick.
Yeah.
Get spanking with. They'd be very judgmental about that, though.
I get the
I'd pick
tiniest
a
little
nice
twig
Yeah.
that they could find. It's like a pine needle.
This'll do.
A small willow
But-
bush.
But if you picked like those little whippy ones, man, that's
That's true. That's why it
probably.
makes small. Well, they can't really whip.
And Doug, he didn't. He was sick. He was so sick for 17 months, and we didn't know what was wrong
He's
with
probably
him.
faking it. He still does that.
What?
What? He was probably faking it.
Oh no, he was.
I don't know.
And then he just screamed. He just screamed. And all day and all night until. And I took him to one doctor, and she'd never had a family, and she said, "Oh, he's just spoiled. Tie him down."
Oh my gosh.
And by then I'd about had it, and I said, "You can't tell me that. Even spoiled babies sleep."
It's a good point.
And there was times I thought I'd throw him out, but just before I'd get ready to throw him out, I'd say, "Oh, no, I love you." Just don't cry so much. Oh, why? And then when his blood tested, you know, and he was anemic like I am, and they said he's a downward one. And so I guess he had every right
Just scream.
to be fussy. but I didn't really, as far as having trouble with Dave. This is what he'd do too. He would always be in the school plays. He'd bring 2 or 3 or 4 carloads full of kids home for lunch. And I just, it was a good thing I had a freezer full of bread and a cabinet full of tuna fish and cold meat and cheese in the fridge. Because I just tell them, hey, just have at it. If you want to grill them, I had a big grill right in my stove. Some of them would be grilled cheese and some would be grilled ham and cheese. Those girls that came, they got so they knew just what to do too. But they always left the mess. But you know, back then it was okay. I had energy and could take care of it. Probably kill one if they did. Oh, Doug, he was a motorcycle man. His dad gave him a horse so that, you know, he had his own horse. And he went out and sold his horse and bought him a bigger motorcycle.
I didn't know that.
Didn't my dad buy a motorcycle, and then it actually ended up being Grandpa Bryce who rode the motorcycle back and forth to feed the horses? And it made my dad so mad because he used the motorcycle that he wasn't supposed to.
Out in front of the kitchen, out in front of our house, was pea gravel on the roads and all in the courtyard and everything. Because that's where the horses were. And Doug, he'd build him these jumps. He'd put a board up on this side, build the boxes up, and have the board over here. And he'd go down there and spin around, and he'd give it the gas, and he'd come up that ramp and over those boxes, jump and go as far as he could go on that. Well, and it'd just scare me to death.
Yep.
But I think he did it just because he knew it would scare me to death. I just finally quit yelling at him. Because he'd do it anyway, and I guess it's better to have him in your own yard than over in somebody else. But Dave was the one that brought the most friends to the house to feed when he wasn't prepared.
Yep.
Linda, she didn't go socially with. She didn't go to dances. She was just very much by herself. And she had friends, but they'd be the dancers and she wouldn't go. She went to a few, but she'd rather not. She turned down dates and wouldn't go to the dances. But she'd paint the murals for him. Linda didn't learn to sew. That wasn't up her alley. She liked to paint and oil paint and draw. And Debbie wanted to learn to sew. And of course, Dave had no choice. His dad wanted him to help him with the horses, and that's what he did. So he didn't have much of a chance to not like horses.
I was gonna say he wasn't too bad about it, I think.
Yeah.
And we went and showed the horses a lot. Went a lot to races. And he'd jockey. Dave would be the jockey. We bought him this nice jockey outfit. It was red and white. And Fantasy Ranch had never had any horses on the track. But we named all the horses after Fantasy Ranch because they were fan ran
Yep.
something.
Yep.
But we went down to the race meeting, and Dave won his first race. And when he came back, his brand new outfit was covered with black shoe polish. I could have killed about 5 jockeys, but that was the initiation for a new jockey
Was to ruin their.
to win a
Oh.
race first out, I guess.
Hmm.
And they painted him and painted his outfit. And you can't wash shoe polish. I mean, it was the liquid polish.
Mm.
Can't wash that out of satin material.
No.
Why? So, that was his fault. And he got kicked in the face.
Yeah.
And that was not his fault either.
Nope.
That was an awful experience. We was just helping the guy that was gonna board his horse at the stables there. And the guy didn't tell us this horse kicked, and he knew.
Mm.
But Dave, you know, they used to just walk behind the horse and
Yep.
shove him in the trailer, and away they go. He got up on the trailer, and that horse just kicked him. And he just flew
Ugh.
and just plopped on the ground. And his eye and his nose were clear out here. Oh, it was awful. And I remember Grandpa saying, "Oh my God, I killed my son." And I was screaming for somebody to have some consecrated oils so that we could give Dave a blessing. And somebody else, I yelled, "Call an ambulance, bring some oil," you know. And people around there were doing that didn't know us. I never went back, and I wouldn't have known where to go anyway. But when the ambulance came, they were there before Bryce was through blessing Dave. And and then he told them, you know, that he was gonna give him a blessing, and they couldn't take him till he was through. And we called Dr. Hogle and said, "Meet us at St. Mark's Hospital, because Dave's been kicked." Bryce went in the ambulance with David. Dr. Hogle was down at the Alpha Club eating dinner. They got a hold of him, and he, I guess, gave the order to call a plastic surgeon, an eye surgeon, a brain surgeon. There was 4 specialists. Can't remember who the other one was. But anyway, when Dave got to the St. Mark's Hospital, all 4 of those specialists were waiting for him in their gowns and ready to do whatever it took. They told us he'd be in intensive care for at least 10 days or more. And they moved him out the next morning. On the 10th day that he was supposed to be in intensive care, on the 10th day, we took him home.
Wow.
They had him wrapped all up in gauze all around his head and his eye and his face, and he could see out of one eye. And he said, "You know what I want more than anything?" He said, "No, what?" He said, "A Big Mac." So we stopped at McDonald's and said, "Should we just run in and get it?" And he said, "No, I want to go in." All wrapped up like we'd beat him to death. But he walked in and ate his Big Mac, and we took him home. So that was a miracle. I want you to know that was a true miracle. Because they told us they didn't expect him to live long enough to sew him up right, you know. So they just did a real quick, sloppy job.
Chicken wire and like
Really?
that spray foam, that's what's in the side.
Really, to hold him together.
Wow.
And they didn't do a fine job that they would do on somebody because they didn't think he'd ever make it. And then Debbie, she's always been busy.
No.
Busy. And she learned to sew. And she laid in bed for week after week after week because she couldn't sit up because of her back. In 50 pounds of plaster. She couldn't move her head. It had a little hole right here in the plaster, and then she was plastered like this, and that behind her head. And then she was plastered down to down here. So she was a bedpan patient. About a 65 pound. She'd weigh more than 15 pounds. I don't know however, but they had 50 pounds of plaster on her.
She said though that because people ask her all the time if when they took the cast off, if her skin was all rashy and stuff, but she said it wasn't because every night you would take, was it cornstarch or something, and you'd take a rag and you'd like.
It was baby
Yeah.
Oh,
powder,
baby powder.
Keep it dry.
Yep.
and I'd put it in gauze, I'd run a fly swatter handle down through her cast, and then put the gauze through it, and then take it up and sprinkle talcum powder on it, or baby powder, and just go up and down like this, as far around as I could go. And this little hole right here, I'd go down through that and go as far as I could go.
Yep.
And there was very, very little spaces on her that weren't just totally clean
Yeah.
when they took the cast off. But I'll tell you, she is the one of all of my kids. They'll any of them do anything they can for you, that's for sure. But Debbie never stops. She never stops, that girl. And it doesn't matter who it is. It's the people right here in these rooms. She helps them. And she's the worst off of any of my kids. And yet,
She's not gonna let that slow her
she
down.
wouldn't turn anybody away if somebody needed her to help them. And if they don't need her, she's still there.
Yep.
She is.
Yep.
And she knows every one of the people's first names up and down here. And several of them have passed away. And she's even taken the time to go to their funerals. Debbie is, I don't know. She's got to be somebody, the Heavenly Father, I don't know how come I got her, was blessed with her, but her mission in life, I guess, is to take care of everybody that's even got a broken toenail. For her to take care of me like she does. She's here every morning. She's here every night. And me, I probably, well, I can't do anything. But I feel like I should be doing for her. But
You talcum powdered the heck
I
out of
know.
her. You kept her good with the powder and the fly swatter.
I, and then Doug. I didn't want him born on the 13th of March. But I had 10 minutes to go before it was the 14th. And he was ready to be born. He was on his way out. The doctor said, I says, I don't want him. I don't want this baby on the 13th. We never knew what we were getting. They didn't, they didn't do that back then. Tell you what the sex was of your baby. We just don't guess. And I said to the doctor, I don't want this baby born on the 13th. He says, well, I'm afraid he's either going to be born on the 13th or I'm going to have to hold it in there for 14 minutes later. So we got Doug on the 13th. And he probably has given me a little, not a problem, because Doug's such a kind, loving, he's just always had a heart. Bigger than he is. But he gave me more worries than any of my kids, I think, because of people he ran around with. He just got in the company of the wrong group. But I couldn't ask for a kinder, sweeter child than I, for any of my 4 kids. The Lord blessed me with 4 of the most wonderful kids. I don't know know how come I deserve them, but I hope I deserve them.
I think you do.
But they are wonderful, all four of my kids.
I will say Doug got the best hair.
That is true.
Mm.
I will say Doug got the best hair. He's still rocking it.
I hope he keeps it, because Dave's losing his.
Yeah, but I think that's because Dad wears a hat. We've talked about this.
It like takes it off.
Yeah. Actually, Uncle Doug's the one. He's like, he'd have the same hair as me if he didn't wear a hat.
Probably.
Like,
Because he covers it up.
yeah, he always has a hat on.
Hmm.
He has to have a hat on though, because if he doesn't, he runs into stuff and hurts himself.
He went,
Because of his eye.
He wears his hat to like buffer, so that when he runs into stuff. He's super blind.
yes, he is. Linda gave a talk in, I think it was state conference. And it was just beautiful, a beautiful talk, as I remember. And in there, she said that she was waiting for her prince on a white stallion. And Alan came on a black horse.
Yeah, so he comes to ride a white horse.
No, I love
He
Alan.
rolled up in a white Porsche.
I love Alan.
Close enough.
She picked her colors, and they were yellow and orange. And the bridesmaids were floral dresses, yellow and orange and beige, and it was all flowers, wasn't paisley or anything like that. And so for the wedding, I made me, because I thought Alan's mother will be, you know, they had money, and thought she'd be right up top here. So I thought, well, I've got to have something that looks nice. And we had to pick out our own dresses or make it, and I made mine. And Doug made me a two-piece suit and a lighter colored orange, a pale orange blouse. And the material was kind of, well, I can't remember what they called it. But anyway, it was a pretty material, and it was orange. And I made me an orange sparkly long dress for the reception out of Toll's. And we got to the wedding, and Alan's mother was dressed in a pale turquoise dress, long dress, and here I am in orange. And the bridesmaids are in orange. And here she is, and it didn't look very coordinated. And so anyway, when we got through with the ceremony, we had to run home out to Fantasy Ranch, and where the reception was, and change into the long orange dress. And here, Alan's mom was still in her long turquoise dress. I was hoping she'd change before she got out. But I'll tell you, I don't know who cooks any better than Linda.
Mm-hmm.
She's a fabulous cook.
Yep.
And a fabulous hostess.
She always has like a cheese tray or
Yeah.
some kind of hors d'oeuvre out.
Well, they used to, before they were married, there was a group of these guys and girls that every 2 weeks or something, they'd have to think up something, cook dinner. The girl and the boy had to cook dinner for all of these others. And had to be something that they had never fixed. And Alan and Linda did several, but one time they brought a PIE truck, the trailer into Old Farm, into Fantasy Ranch down by the house, parked it, and that's where they had their dinner for these people. They put the card tables in there and fancy. I mean, they had the tablecloths and the things and the centerpieces.
I was gonna say, I'm sure there were candles.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
everything was really fancy. So Linda's always done that, and she loves to paint and draw. And Doug's my baby. He's got babies
Yep.
that
They've
have got babies.
Yep.
So it doesn't take long for your family to grow up. How are you, Brian?
Were you sleeping in the car?
Look at that, Mozilla. Do you come to strangers? Not very well.
She will. She just is funny baby.
Who you?
I assume you guys were taking it home.
Hey, somebody that I know would take me. It's not quivering.
Hey.
Happy to do so.
I'm shaking and I'm sure she's wondering what that is.
Who's got you, huh? Do you want me to get? I think she just wants to get into everything, huh? Granny.
Yeah.
Are we wearing you out, Granny? A little bit?
Oh, this is wonderful.
Wearing me out.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Yeah, this is really special.
We wanted to get you a card.
We
Well,
needed a Valentine.
my birthday or anything.
Well, it's Valentine's Day. You're welcome. Happy Valentine's Day, Granny.
Well, I hope we can have another day like this.
Yeah. I would love that.
Nathan is the one
Yep.
That's how it started.
that named me Granny. Bryce was carrying him out of the house, and he said something about to me, and he said, "Grandma," you know, and Nathan says, "She's not Grandma, she's Granny."
And now that's what you say to us if anyone calls you grandma.
Yeah. She's not grandma, she's granny.
If I talk to you about anyone, they say, "Oh, your grandma." I'm like, "No, it's Granny."
Yeah.
And I correct anyone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "You don't know, but it's Granny."
It's very serious.
That
It's
I've
very
been
obvious.
Granny, my first grandchild.
Yep.
So I don't know. Kind
I
of.
forgot to cross. I was gonna cross out grandma and write granny on it. And I forgot to do that. And then this conversation just reminded me that I haven't done that yet. So just pretend like this happened.
Because
Grandma.
I think you got it for someone else.
Yeah. Gotta be really clear.
Once you read the inside, I think you'll know.
Yeah. There we go.
Oh,
As was intended.
You're so good. She works in an office and she knows how to say and write things and do it right or wrong.
I was like, I don't know about that last part, but I do say and write a lot of things. That's very true. Yeah.
And Rachel, she gets to fly all over the world.
I do.
And you love that, I'll bet.
Mm-hmm. I do. I love it.
How many of you went to New York?
There's just two of us.
And you're stewardess, 3
Technically, we're flight attendants now.
flight.
This is just like the granny grandma thing.
Yeah.
To get it
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm okay. I've never flown, only with Jack Compton.
Oh, right.
That's risky.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
And if I'd had a purse, we would have had to have landed. Oh, we was in this little 2-engine plane, and I was so nervous. And I think it was Dave that went with me, or maybe it was Bryce.
If it was my dad, you probably were more nervous than him because he is a panicky little wart on a plane.
Well, but he won't get on a big one,
No, we don't fly anywhere.
but he can fly on a little one. I don't understand that.
He's still not that good, but at least he knows the pilot on
Yeah.
the little one.
Well, Rachel could go along as
Yeah.
the, what is it they're calling?
Flight
I
attendant.
get the one who's a flight attendant.
In the tiny plane. Just like grab the drink and just. There you go.
Uh-huh.
Sir, I'm gonna need you to calm
I-
down.
Have you ever spilled a drink on anybody?
Oh yeah.
Aww.
Yeah.
Did you kiss him on the cheek
No.
to make him feel better? Oh.
I didn't actually spill the drink on them. I spilled the drink, which was tomato juice, for the record, on their laptop
Oh.
that they purchased literally the day before.
Oh no.
So that was really rough.
Did you just throw up immediately? I would have just.
I would have been like, oh, sorry, turbulence. I
Like, and after. Oh. Sorry.
Just turn it upside down quick.
Yeah.
Let the water run.
It's like pour rice all over it.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh.
Yeah. But he was nice about it. He was nice
good.
about it.
Did he know how to dry it out, or is it?
Since he had just purchased it like the day before and he had gotten like the warranty on it, he could just take it in and get it changed out. He
Oh,
said,
that's fantastic.
I know.
He said, but you'll
I was
never
gonna say,
know.
at least that's what he said.
Yeah.
But still.
I like to fly. I like the window,
Mhm.
Yeah.
so I can look out and see down there how far we are.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun.
I just like to look out and see into the clouds and how blue the sky is above them and everything.
Yeah. Makes you feel pretty small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the 4th of July, I don't remember which year, but we were flying out of Houston and it was a really late flight and so it was nighttime. And with it being the 4th of July, there were fireworks that everybody was, doing. And so as we were taking off, we could just see these little spurts of fireworks.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be cool.
And even when we got pretty high in the air, we could just see these little fireflies of
Oh my
different
gosh.
colors.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was really cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
And all over.
Mm-hmm.
That would be so fun.
It was.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I was sad because I was like, oh, I'm working on the 4th of July.
And you get the
And
best.
then I was like,
fireworks show.
this is the most magical experience of my life.
Like, I'll take the 4th of July shift,
Yeah.
Every time.
but only a late flight.
We should do this again, Granny.
Next time someone else can plan it so I don't get blamed.
Jenny. I just said it was Sarah's fault.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That's true.
That's okay.
Can we do anything else for you, Granny?
What?
Can we do anything else for you, Granny? I want to let you rest now. We've overwhelmed you with our presents.
Oh, it's been wonderful.
Oh, good.
Been absolutely wonderful.
Good.
Wonderful, wonderful. I love you, Ken.
We love you.
When you're all the pieces. I'm so glad that Heavenly Father gave the two granddaughters.
I love you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad it was a good surprise and not overwhelming.
It's a wonderful surprise. What? You have lots of fun traveling those flights.
Oh, I will.
Have fun going to Disneyland.
I will.
I'll go with you next time, okay?
Okay.